Welcome everyone to another edition of Willow's Weather Briefing. Today is Wednesday, May 14th, 2025. Our main weather stories for today are severe thunderstorms in the northern plains and also upcoming many days of severe weather associated with an active pattern. We also have dangerous heat in Texas and elevated to critical fire weather conditions in the southwest. As you can see here, our low pressure system that's been giving us torrential rainfall throughout the mid-Atlantic regions and previously as well in the southeast, that is slowly depleting and phasing into the mean flow up north. We also have this low pressure system and troughing off to the west, causing some little spinniness in western Montana as well as some thunderstorms in the northern plains. Here's our drought monitor. The solid lines indicate the areas of highest concern. So please pause the video and look at your location if you're interested in knowing about that. So this is our current watches and warnings. We have a red flag warning over the southwest associated with high and dry winds. We also have an extreme heat warning over southern Texas associated with 100 to 110 degree temperatures with little to no relief overnight, and that is going to stay here for the next few days and even into early next week. We also have a high wind warning in western North Dakota associated with the genesis of a new surface cyclone over here in the upper Rockies. Looking at our current surface map here, we have mountain snow and scattered showers in the lower elevations associated with this upper level trough that's slowly moving to the east. We also have critical fire weather conditions in the southwest and our severe thunderstorm risk here in the northern plains. That, as I said earlier, our low pressure system in the eastern United States is slowly depleting as the upper level low is phasing into the mean flow up north. For day 2, continuation of mountain snow up north associated with the upper level vorticity we have, and the movement of this low pressure system in the northern plains will cause severe weather all over the Midwest, Great Lakes region, and even areas of the mid-Mississippi Valley. And day 3, this low pressure system, mighty occluded by now, will cause a stalling cold front over areas of the mid-Mississippi River Valley and the mid-South to cause another severe weather risk on Friday. Looking at our excessive rainfall outlook, nothing too significant, just marginal risks. Marginal risk for the Delmarva down the mid-South. Mainly concerned about the higher elevations here, of course. We had a few significant flash flood warnings and even a flash flood emergency in West Virginia associated with that upslope flow. But overall, the moisture return and the overall moisture flux from the Atlantic will be less today than previous days. We also have a marginal risk in the northern plains due to convection. Day 2, same thing, marginal risk in the northern plains due to convection. And day 3, we have that stalling front. That I anticipate that this might be upgraded later because of the possibility of training convection, but right now, marginal risk all over areas of the Mid-South and Ohio River valleys. Day 4, marginal risk again associated with that stalling front down here, now in the Ozarks vicinity down to northeastern Texas and portions of the southeast. We also have a marginal risk of excessive rainfall up here in New England. Finally, day 5, we got another upper level trough impinging on the area. Vorticity and convection will cause a marginal risk down here in the Great Basin, as well as in the northern plains, or portions of the northern plains. Marginal risk associated with convection over here in the Mid-South, Missouri River to Mid-South regions. And here is our biggest story of the next few days. We have a slight risk over portions of the northern plains, mainly associated with a wind and hail risk. Again, tornado risk is relatively low today, but look out for giant hail, especially in areas of central Nebraska, such as Grand Island, Nebraska, Kearney, and North Platte. Looking at day 2, our surface cyclone moves east. We have an enhanced 3 out of 5 risk for areas of the upper Midwest all the way down the Great Lakes region. This includes cities like Chicago, Milwaukee, Madison, Grand Rapids. This is mainly associated with a big hail risk. I know I've talked about before about the hail risk. The thermodynamic profiles and kinematic profiles too are very conducive of pretty large hail. We might see hail upwards of 2 to 3 inches, or perhaps even larger. Also, I think wind is a big risk. I'm kind of surprised that they didn't put a significant wind risk here, but nonetheless, still a pretty elevated wind risk. And of course, a widespread tornado risk, currently 5%, but wouldn't be surprised if they upgraded pockets of this risk area to a 10 hatched as well. But still, limited confidence across the areas that have objectively the highest parameters for severe weather, and that is going to be this area down here in the Ohio River Valley to the Midwest regions, over here in like central Illinois, central Indiana, and southern portion and south as well. But again, as I described yesterday, there is issues of what we call capping and forcing to limit the overall coverage, and that is ultimately what the SPC is trying to cover with their forecast. It's the coverage of severe weather, and the capping will severely limit that coverage if storms initiate at all down here. Day 3, we have a slight risk of severe weather across from the Missouri Boot Heel all the way across the Ohio River Valley and into the Mid-South, primarily associated with a wind and hail risk, and also probably an elevated tornado risk in this region as well. But storm mode is a little bit more of a concern, might get more messy, might get more clustered because the front is stalled along the area. So right now, a slight risk, not too confident on the exact hazards, but it looks like all hazards are going to be on the table for day 3 Friday. And finally, looking at our extended range outlook, we have a day 5 severe weather outlook for Sunday here in Oklahoma, just across that dry line that's going to set up and tighten across the southern plains. The troughing here in the Midwest, we're going to have a new, not the Midwest, we have a new trough coming into the western United States, which is going to overspread enhanced flow across the plains and possibly, it is going to induce a surface cyclone response and tighten the dry line and provide good enough kinematics and thermodynamics for severe weather on Sunday. On Monday is kind of the day of greatest concern here. We still have exact hazards are still unknown, and the exact severity of this event on Monday is still unknown, but this is kind of what we're watching because that's when the trough really overspreads the plains. It's where it starts to eject into the plains. But the exact geometry of the trough and timing is still up for debate, but we are going to see possibly significant severe weather on Monday, especially. Monday's kind of the day that we are looking at. So looking at our heat risk first, we are going to be focused on areas of Texas that are still going to see definitely multiple days and little heat relief overnights of 100+ degree temperatures. Areas like San Antonio will see multiple days of 100-degree plus temperatures with little to no overnight relief. Areas closer to the border, like in this extreme risk right here, we'll see temperatures approaching 110 degrees over today and almost 100 degrees for almost a week. Continuation of that heat will overspread the region and possibly move east into areas like Houston. We expect temperatures to be pretty high, up into the mid 90s, but also, of course, your humidity is going to be higher in areas like this. But Overall, little to no overnight relief will cause excessive heat risks in these areas. The heat will also overspread areas of the eastern United States with much above average temperatures. Again, over here in the west, because of that troughing, we will see temperatures 10 to 20 degrees below average for much of the western United States. And that heat will just continue across southern Texas, bringing extreme heat risks throughout the region. Looking at our extended range hazards, we have flash flooding risks in pockets pretty much all over the United States associated with the upcoming convection. Of course, the heat risk here in the southern Texas region overspreading into areas of southwestern Louisiana, and also the severe weather risk here in the mid-Mississippi Valley over to the Ohio Valley and Mid-South. Now we're going to go into a little bit of modeling. I first want to just get a broad overview of what is going to happen now and into the future. We have this troughing in the western United States, which will cause our severe weather risk in the northern plains today. But as we move on, we get that impingement of the two jets. We have the polar jet up here and the subtropical jet here. Our subtropical jet will impinge into areas of southern Illinois, which is why I was saying that our best environment is down here, both kinematically and thermodynamically. But again, if no storms initiate to take advantage of that environment, then it's pretty much useless. So the enhanced risk is up here for more confidence in spatial coverage and intensity. We have tons of divergence aloft to support the depletion of any capping inversion that may remain up here. And so we are a bit more confident on the spatial coverage of areas such as Wisconsin. Moving forward on our 500 millibar map, this low will make its way eastward, and then another trough comes in early next week. This is a massive trough coming into the western United States, and on Sunday, we already have enhanced flow impinging onto the Rocky Mountains, so we do expect a cyclone surface response here. This is why we have a severe weather risk here in Oklahoma associated with a tightening dry line on Sunday. But again, as I said earlier, this trough deepens and then starts to eject into the plains by Monday. The particular evolution of this trough is a bit different than we've seen before. It does a little bit of this double barrel type thing, and then it deepens, and rather than progressives, and digs rather than progresses to the east. So less overspreading of enhanced flow aloft, but still larger than Monday, which is why we're kind of looking at larger than Sunday. That's why we were looking at Monday as a time of concern. But because of this particular model run's evolution, this trough will start to impinge on areas such as the Midwest again on Tuesday. So the evolution of this trough is extremely important to the exact timing and evolution of this setup. If we get a faster trough evolution, if it doesn't do this double barrel type digging, then we will possibly see more overspreading flow aloft into the plains, and it will increase our risk possibly in the plains. But if we get this digging initially and the trough doesn't move east, then we will, again, this solution might verify, and we might have an additional severe weather risk up here in the Midwest on Tuesday. So looking at our surface precipitation type, we can get a better idea on where our storms will actually fire. We can see here, associated with the cyclone's response, initially today, we see storms firing all over the northern plains, and then the surface cyclone will make its way northward and initiate some severe weather pretty early on tomorrow in areas like western Wisconsin and eastern Minnesota. And again, the initiation in the areas which have the better thermodynamic and kinematic environments is still pretty nebulous, at least on the GFS model. Take a look at some higher resolution runs in just a moment. But yeah, as I said before, this low will kind of hang around, occlude, and then cause this stalling frontal regime down here in southern Illinois to the mid-south. Our orientation is more zonal, more east to west. So I do expect the storm mode to be a bit messier down here, but the thermodynamic and kinematic profiles are still well conducive of all hazards. This low will move off to the east, and then we have that second impingement of that other trough later on, early next week. On Sunday, we have a surface response on the Rockies, tightening of that dry line, and additional development over Oklahoma and into the Central Plains. Next day, this is supposed to be our bigger one on Monday. Due to that, still, due to the trough not moving eastward, that surface cyclone actually stays in the Rockies, though enhancement of the flow aloft will possibly increase the threat on Monday into areas such as Kansas and into central Oklahoma. That this surface cyclone will finally move eastward towards the Midwest regions on Tuesday, and this is where we'll possibly see a continuation of the severe weather threat if the upper level pattern evolves as it does on this GFS run, which is very unlikely given that this is 162 hours out. Many things can change, as I said before. If the upper level pattern shifts in a way that the trough doesn't move east, then it might change the timing of the severe weather threat and location. So let's look at our convective allowing models. Models with lower resolutions like the GFS do not resolve convection explicitly. They're what we call parameterized. Like, it's kind of fake. It's kind of pseudo convection. But models like the NAM 3 kilometer or the HRRR actually resolve convection explicitly, so we can kind of get it's kind of like a better model in a lot of ways. So we can see here initiation of convection across the Midwest on Tuesday. Let me actually zoom out real quick to see the convection today in the northern plains. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. So we have a lot of convection here in the northern plains. The biggest hail risk will be in Nebraska, where we will see possibly better thermodynamic profiles for hail. Let's go ahead and take a sounding just ahead of this convection. Oh, that's a little bit of a bad one. Go ahead and take one at around 22Z. Yeah, so as you can see, pretty good environment for all hazards. I mean, you have lower LCLs and LFCs, or sorry, higher LCLs and LFCs, which will deplete your tornado threat, and of course, meager inflow and low-level helicity will also deplete your tornado threat just a bit. But we are expecting temperatures to be a bit higher, so lower low-level instability tends to increase your hail threat down here. So definitely expecting a hail threat and more outflowy storms associated with a wind threat up here. Moving on, let's just move on to tomorrow. So yeah, main stories over here is a significant hail threat in areas like Nebraska, and also a wind threat throughout the slight risk area today. But our biggest concern, of course, is tomorrow. We have that enhanced risk across Wisconsin, and you can kind of see what I mean with the coverage being what the SPC is trying to forecast here. We have a large amount of convection in Wisconsin associated with a good amount of instability and ingredients for us. So let's actually move forward closer to peak heating here in central Wisconsin. So the problem with models is that they're not perfect, okay? This run shows a significant inversion causing a meager response in terms of initiation, but it is going to be much hotter than 72 degrees at 22Z tomorrow. We expect temperatures in central Wisconsin to reach up to the mid to low 80s. So given that, we will definitely see more widespread convection than just this over here. Let's actually go to a different model, such as the HRRR, to see if they resolve it a bit differently. Yeah, as you can see here, definitely more robust convection on the HRRR. Let's take a sounding here in central Wisconsin again. The HRRR, yeah. As you can see here, much warmer temperatures. This is definitely more realistic. So I think we'll just stick with the HRRR for our analysis. The NAM is just not doing too hot. But as you can see, this is probably on the boundary, which is why we're getting that omega or vertical motion. But let's take another sounding just ahead of that. Yeah, so warmer temperatures will probably have some easy convection along that convergence zone in Wisconsin, and widespread severe weather in Wisconsin is kind of the main story. Wonky hodograph, the upper levels aren't really that good because we really have no overspreading jet in this region. But again, the SVC puts an enhanced risk here because we are definitely more confident in convection up here. So you can see temperatures, they're still going to be a little higher than this, and dew points are probably going to be a bit higher than this. So we do expect prominent widespread convection here in Wisconsin, despite what models are kind of struggling to resolve right now. And of course, areas in central and southern Illinois, you're also of concern because we have much better kinematics and thermodynamics down here because of that subtropical jet coming in and better moisture. However, we do have a lingering inversion up here. Let's see if I can get a better look at it. Yeah, we have this lingering inversion up here despite having temperatures well above pretty high temperatures. We still are questioning whether or not we will get convection on here because, again, your dew points are kind of going to get mixed out a little bit. 69 degrees actually seems a bit realistic. We could probably reach 69 degrees, so if this happens, then it could definitely be possible to have initiation in this area that I picked out here. But it all depends on how the boundary plays out, how much convergence we have at the surface, how low your level of free convection is, and how this elevated mixed layer, this area of dry air and steep lapse rates, will sort of come to fruition. But here we do have convection late associated during or just after peak heating. So perhaps we could get some convection, at least in areas along and south of I-70. So any convection that pops up down here will make its way into areas such as central Indiana as well. And central Indiana still has a good environment for hazards such as tornadoes, wind, and especially large hail. You can see the analogs are off the charts. Don't pay much attention to those, but we still have good instability aloft. We will have a sort of low-level jet response, enlarging your low-level photographs, increasing your streamwise helicity down here. So if storms do end up firing along this boundary near peak heating, near or just after peak heating, then these storms will move off into areas such as central Indiana, and anyone in these regions should watch out, especially if storms fire around this region. The storms up here in Wisconsin, as they move off into areas like the UP of Michigan and move across Lake Michigan, will also need to watch out for especially high winds and large hail. So let's just go ahead and back out a little bit and finally move on to our setup on Friday. Much messier. We'll have a lingering boundary, but as you can see here, Friday seems to honestly have the most concerning environment for all hazards except large hail. I feel like large hail will be a primary hazard for on tomorrow. But as you can see here, very large photographs associated with the impingement of that subtropical jet. Still very high instability, and also our moisture will be better in this regime, and along with pretty much guaranteed forcing with that lingering stationary boundary, we still have a good threat for severe weather on Friday around these regions down here. So, moral of the story, watch out if you're in the Midwest to central Mississippi River Valley to Ohio River Valley. It might be a busy next few days of severe weather. Our 6 to 10-day temperature outlook, much below average for the northern United States and above average for the southern United States and above average for areas of California. Our 6 to 10-day precipitation outlook, much above average for a lot of the U.S., below average for areas such as Northern California and Florida. So that is going to be it for today. A bit longer today since we have an active severe weather setup upcoming. I want to make sure that you guys know what's going on and to know why the SPC is forecasting the way that it does. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and possibly subscribe if you want to listen to any future weather briefings. And of course, if you want any specific information regarding your area, please refer to your local broadcast or National Weather Service meteorologists. My sources are down below if you want to learn more. Thank you and have a great day.